Okay, Ken Dunek, Mark Eckel. It's the Bird Brains with Mark and Ken. We're going to keep you away from all the sharp objects, keep you off the window ledge. We're going to talk about the Eagles game yesterday, but Mark, I'm going to be a glass half full guy today because everybody is overreacting. I tell you, I was taught by a very wise gentleman by the name of Dick Vermeil, you don't get too high, you don't get too low after a loss. But we're going to talk about the whole thing. If you were going to get low, this would be the day to do it. But we're not going to do that. We're going to stay in the positive. And I want to remind everybody that the Bird Brains with Ken and Mark is sponsored by Gateway Mortgage. Chris Wilhelm, our great friend and great Eagles fan, by the way, has mortgage programs for everything, and he will fit your needs. Call Chris at Gateway Mortgage, 856-810-1222. That's Chris Wilhelm, Gateway Mortgage, 856-810-1222. Also, we want to remind everybody that we're recording this at the Sweet Recording Studios in Mount Laurel. Joe Gangemi owns the place, and he will take care of you. If you're thinking about doing a podcast, reach out to Sweet Recording Studios in Mount Laurel. And I also want to mention the JerseyMan magazine, who we're proud to have Mark Eckel write for us. Did a great Eagles preview this year. I'm not sure we can edit that now, Mark, but we're 4 games into it. But anyway, it's still relevant. I read it again yesterday. We have the football issue coming out tomorrow, October 1st. Make sure you go to JerseyManMagazine.com. And I want to remind everybody that on November 7th, we're having our annual gala at the Ballroom at the Bend, the Unmasking Gala, where we raise a bunch of money for charity. 500 people, Ballroom at the Bend last year. Lots of celebrities. If you'd like to go, check out JerseyManMagazine.com. And then finally, the Eagles cruise that I am going to partake in along with my friends Vince Papali, Byron Evans, Mark McMillan, Gary Cobb, and others. We're going to set sail from Tampa on April 12th to the 19th. Use the promo code Dunek to get $300 off of your cabin. And we're going to have a lot of fun on that cruise. April 12th to the 19th. And we're going to have a little chyron up there for you where you can see how to get involved with that. So, Mark, on to the football game. About as bad a start as I can remember, not only the Eagles having, maybe any professional football team having. They had 0 yards midway through the second quarter, and Tampa Bay was just running up and down the field. Your initial comments on the start of the game, and then what happened after that.
Well, I thought the offense would struggle yesterday. I mean, listen, and
missing three of their best 5 offensive players. That wasn't a surprise.
It might be 1, 2. Well, yeah, Barkley. So yeah, 3 of your.
Well, you got Hurts and Barkley in there.
Yeah, three of the top 5 without a doubt. And both. So I didn't expect a lot of points from the. I just didn't. Not with both receivers out, and Hurts has been struggling.
And Covey was out too, who's
right. He's
been their third receiver. Yeah.
Right. So but I didn't expect Tampa to go up and down the field like you said and have 20. Tampa had 24 points before the Eagles had a yard.
Mark, the first half stats, we got out first down 18-6. Total net yards 287-69, and passing yards 226-39. That's about as dominant a performance as you can find in the NFL. And it just looked like to me that the Eagles were out of sync offensively, and defensively. Listen, I know everybody's fighting through injuries, but how much of a factor do you think the weather was yesterday? Because they said at some point it was 110 degrees on the field. I mean, Tampa practices in that environment, and the Eagles don't, and that's a big edge in football.
No, it is, and it's a factor that people don't talk about a lot. They talk about late in the year when Miami has to go to Buffalo or somebody has to go to Green Bay, and it's going to be tough on that. They're used to warm weather. They're going to Green Bay or Buffalo. And they're right, but it works the other way too. When when a cold weather, when a cold weather team has to go to, if Buffalo has to go to Miami in September, it's a little tough on the Bills. But you got to be prepared for that. I remember back, what year was it? 2000. I'm going way back.
You're not going back to the pickle juice game.
Yes, I am going back to the pickle juice. It was 100 degrees.
By the way, I drink pickle juice martinis, so I'm well
Yeah.
familiar with the pickle juice. It has therapeutic qualities, believe
I'm
me.
not sure the vodka or gin helps, but anyway,
It does. It
it
does
helps
help.
you.
After your career, it helps.
Yeah, it helps
Absolutely.
you a lot now,
Mhm.
but it probably wouldn't have helped the players.
Mhm.
But the the pickle juice game in Dallas, yeah, I mean, we knew it was going to be hot in Dallas that Sunday. It was, the forecast called for it to be close to 100, and it was. And the Eagles were prepared. They hydrated all week. They the pickle juice became kind of like the joke of it, but they were ready. They were ready for the heat, and they blew Dallas out, 41-14.
Right. Right.
That's the problem with this team right now. Yeah, there's missed tackles. Yeah, there's wide receivers hurt, and Lane Johnson's hurt, and blah blah blah. They haven't scored a point in the first quarter this year.
That's
Four games,
amazing.
no points
That
in the first
that
quarter.
is amazing.
They're lucky they're 2-2.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
I agree. I
I
agree.
mean, they're not prepared. They're not prepared for anything. They're not prepared for the weather. They're not prepared to play. They're just not prepared. Who's
So,
that fall
and where does that come from? Obviously,
on?
you have to lay the mantle at the head coach.
Right.
But don't you think with two experienced coordinators like Kellen Moore and Vic Fangelo that they would have a bit of an influence on the direction that the team is going?
You
Hey,
would
we're not
hope.
prepared here. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. I mean, 4 games in, it's obvious that the Eagles have some deficiencies that have to be corrected pretty quickly.
Yes. And like I said, offensively, I'm going to give them a break. And I'm going to give her. I know people are coming down on Hurts. He had another turnover.
He had no
He's not
time to
playing well.
throw.
He's not playing well. But
No.
when you're missing a lot of people like he is, I'm going to give him a little, just a slight pass. Defense, I'm not giving anybody a pass because they have the guys that they want out there. They're just not very. Well, hey, Bryce Huff had a tackle. Bryce Huff did have he did it.
Sound the trumpets, Bryce.
Yep,
Hey,
he had a tackle.
Josh Sweat had a sack. Yeah, how about Brandon Graham at us? I mean, listen, we're searching for nuggets here, so we're grabbing anything we can. But so talking about the injuries, now you're going to a game without AJ Brown, who is your deep threat, Devontae Smith in the slot, maybe your most reliable receiver, Britton Covey, who's been running third receiver, he's out with a shoulder. Of course, Lane Johnson, maybe the best right tackle in all of football, is not playing in the game. Cam Jurgens got hurt in the game. Jalen Carter got hurt in the game. I know Darius Slay went off the field at some point. So the Eagles were missing a lot of players. But again, you can't use injuries as an excuse in the National Football League because everybody has them and the next guy up has to step up. And right now they're not doing that. Let's talk about turnovers. Again, we lose the turnover battle. The punt return was kind of unfortunate. Isaiah Rodgers has to know not to push, the defender into the punt returner.
Did it on purpose.
Yeah,
He thought he was going to draw a flag for it. But it's not a flag if I push you into no, it's not a flag because I pushed you.
yeah.
If you hit the punt returner on your own, yeah, it's a flag. But no, how do guys not know rules?
I don't know. How do you not know the game? You're a professional football player. How do you not know the game? Now, Jalen Hurts' ball security concerns me as well. I saw that sack coming, and I could feel the pressure from the TV. Hurts has to know that and it wasn't a blind side. It was actually, I think it came from his front side. You've got to know that you've got to protect the ball when you feel that heat coming. All the great ones have done it. And Hurts has had a lot of turnover issues this year, which to me is the most
second in the league.
concerning. Is he? And it's the most concerning factor about his play. He didn't have a lot of time yesterday. He still refuses to step up in the pocket at most times. He loves to bail right and run. And I believe he only had 20-some yards rushing yesterday. So even that wasn't effective for the Eagles. So, all of these things add up to what is proving to be so far after 4 games a mediocre football team.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I'm not, I shouldn't say disappointed because I saw it coming. I didn't like this defense from the beginning. I thought for the Eagles to be good this year, and I thought they would be good. I still think they're going to be. I think they're going to be better than they're playing now. Um, I think they're going to have to win games with the offense. It's going to have to be like the last team with the ball wins, because, like I said this to you last week. If I'm an offensive coordinator and I'm game planning against. There's nobody. I'm not scared of anybody on that. There's
No.
not one player I got to say, hey, we got to worry about who. Who am I worried about? Bryce Huff?
Well,
Who am I
let's
worried about?
let's
Sweat's a good
talk about.
player. He's a good player, but I'm not game planning for him. I just tell my tackle, yeah, you got to block him.
Well, I
The
thought
secondary, there's nobody in the secondary I'm scared
no.
of.
We're going to talk about both these things. The defensive line, who played inspired football last week, to me didn't show up again yesterday. The poor coverage and tackling with the linebackers in the secondary is frighteningly bad. And N'Kobe Dean getting beat, Avonte Maddox getting beat, and missing tackles all over the place. Reed Blankenship, who's a hard-hitting safety, he can't cover one-on-one, and he was missing tackles yesterday. Darius Slay has lost a step. I don't care what you say; he's not a number one corner in the league anymore. I thought Quinyon Mitchell actually did a fairly good job of coverage. He was the only one, but
He's a good player.
so if you're Vic Fangio, what do? You're not getting a pass rush. Your cover guys can't cover in man, so that's why he's got to play that Tampa 2 zone. And your linebackers can't cover underneath. What's a guy supposed to do in this situation? I actually feel like, I feel sorry. I don't feel sorry for his salary, but I feel sorry for the frustration he's probably going through.
But they built this. Listen, maybe the blame goes higher. Maybe it's Howie wrote. Everyone likes to say how great Howie. It's Howie's season and Howie does great things. And Howie's the guy that gave Huck 150 million, whatever it is, for how many years. Can't play. He's the one that signed Devin White. He don't even get on. He's not even out.
Devin White, by the way, Devin White out for personal reasons. What's going on there? To me, that's a telltale sign that you're halfway out the door.
Your free agent signing, and he's been inactive the first 3 games, and now he's out for personal. He'll be. I'll be surprised. Now they're going to the bye week. I'll be surprised if Devin White's on the roster when they come back to the bye. I'll be surprised.
And don't forget that game breaker that Howie brought in, Johan Dotson, that great receiver from Washington.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Can't get a sniff.
You got Brown out, and you got Smith out, and then Covey, like you said. Well, you traded a 3rd-round pick for Johan Dotson, who was a 1st-round pick at one point out of Penn State. I mean, I don't want to get into my thoughts about Penn State. Has there ever been a good one? So I mean, he traded for him. Well, he's done nothing, and he's been here 5 weeks now. So I don't want to hear about he just got here. He doesn't know. He knows how to play. Come on, guys have come in less time than that and have made impacts. So another bad trade. He drafted Carter and Davis early in the 1st round. They built this team. This isn't like. I don't feel bad for anybody because this is a team that this deep. N'Kobe Dean, the steal of the draft, 3rd round. I can't believe they got him in the 3rd round. I can't believe they took him in the 3rd round. They could have got him in the 6th.
Yeah,
he can't play. He's not good. He's too small. This is a big man's game.
Definitely the personnel is coming up short. Let's look at the numbers yesterday. Jalen Hurts, 18 for 30, 158 yards, 1 TD, no interceptions, and, of course, the strip sack that hurt. Barkley had the play of the game with that, I believe, was a 59-yard run, 84 yards on the ground on only 10 attempts. He continues to impress.
That was a good sign. I'll give you. Listen, I ripped all the other things.
Yeah,
getting Barkley was good, but I mean, a blind squirrel could have. Knew she was going to sign. It was just a matter of giving him more money than anybody else. That's all that was.
Dallas Goedert, 7 catches for 62 yards. Paris Campbell, who's a kid that I watched his interviews coming up from the practice squad, was really hungry for the opportunity, made a nice route on that touchdown catch. Isaiah Rodgers, we just ripped him for pushing the punt returner into the punter, pushing the defender into the punt returner. He had a nice play when he blocked the PAT, and Ringo takes it and goes the difference.
Hey, I got a question about that. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I've often wondered this, and you rarely see that happen. I mean, they put that rule in a couple years ago, more than a couple now. But if you block it, the team can get 2 points. Mm-hmm. First time Eagles have ever done it. In any
Is that right?
Oh yeah, first time ever. Okay. I don't think it's ever happened against them either. But here's my question. So Ringo's returning the block, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say the defender who's chasing him now, the offensive player chasing him, he horse collar tackles. What happens?
Let me think.
I don't know. I've asked this a million times. I never get an answer. It's a penalty on the other.
They're probably penalizing it. It's the try or the reverse 2 point is no good, and they probably enforce the penalty on the kickoff.
Okay.
That
Well,
would be
you don't
my
say
guess.
you don't give them the two. You don't say, "Hey."
No, I don't think so. It's a great question, though.
I'm just wondering. I
Hey,
mean,
let's do some research and have that for tomorrow.
I've tried. I've
Yeah.
asked everybody. I guess I got to ask the referee himself. Find a referee. I'll call Gene Steratore.
But yeah, but the really frustrating thing was defensively. Baker Mayfield, 30 for 47, 247 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. But it was just the fact that the receivers for Tampa were so wide open, and nobody around them, and the missed tackles. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are a formidable duo. They have been for years. I think Mike Evans
He's a Hall of Famer.
was the career. I think he has the career reception lead now for Tampa. 163 yards combined. So, those guys are the real deal. I'm not faulting anything other than the fact that the Eagles' defensive secondary and linebackers they've got to get better. Otherwise, I don't know what they do. I don't know what Vic Fangio could scheme. Now, if you noticed, I did see a few blitzes yesterday, which was encouraging. But it was almost too late. It was after the fact.
24-0 by then.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was. But I mean, yeah, you can blitz. You can do. I mean, you can like you said when you started, you could scheme things any way you want.
Mm-hmm.
If you're missing tackles, if you're not getting pressure, it doesn't matter what scheme you're in. If you're 3-4-4, 3-5-2, whatever, it doesn't matter if you're not playing fundamentally sound football. And that was the problem I thought last year was they weren't fundamentally sound. I thought Vic, if nothing else, being an old school coach would drive fundamentals and would instill that, hey, listen, we're not going to miss tackles, we're not going to be out of position, we're not going to. Yeah. But I guess his message hasn't. Listen, a coach can only do so much. Players got to play.
I know you live in Myrtle Beach, so you probably don't see the post game pressers, but it's a stale act though. It's getting on. Nick Sirianni will lay the blame at me. Okay, so now what? I mean, the blame is on you now. Jalen Hurts. I got to play better. Yeah, I get it. You do have to play better. Listen, I know I'm not sure exactly what these guys are supposed to say up there. I'm just saying that every time we throw a clinker in there and hear the same thing, it was kind of like the Andy Reid message got old at the end too. So everything runs its course, I guess. But
what do you make of Sirianni? He won't say anything critical of Hurts. And I know, I mean,
I think that's a fragile relationship. I also understand that Nick knows that he's got all this money guaranteed, and that unless there's some earth-shattering crisis or scandal, that Jalen's going to be here far longer than Nick is going to be here. So why, coaches don't have the level.
I didn't mean it. I didn't mean like he could come out and say Hurt, but he's asked about the strip sack, right?
Yeah.
What happened? And as you said. And other, Tom Brady said it. Hurts has to have more awareness.
Of course.
Well, Nick came flat out and said, "Oh, well, that wasn't Jalen's fault."
Well, whose fault was it?
Oh, I guess he's blaming the offensive line for letting the guy make the sack.
Yeah,
which I can see that. Yes, the sack wasn't Hurts' fault. The fumble was. Right.
Mark. I think in this day and age in football. The Bill Belichick's and the Bill Parcells, those guys are dinosaurs anymore. Bill Belichick is arguably, maybe inarguably, the greatest coach in the history of the NFL. Right, won more championships. He couldn't get a job this year, and the reason is because teams don't want to give over the keys to the franchise. We've talked about this before. Jeffrey Lurie will never hire another Chip Kelly again. And put Howie back in the outhouse, behind the NovaCare, and they're just not going to do it because they want to call the shots. And when you hire a guy like Parcells or Belichick or of the like, that you lose that control. And NFL owners don't need to do it. They just don't need to do it. They'd like to win. I'm sure Jeffrey Lurie would like to win, but
Well, he does. Well, Laurie wants to win. There's no.
okay. So does he like to win enough to hand the keys over to Bill Belichick?
Like he don't. Well, he thinks he can have both. He thinks he can.
Now, good and well, if Bill Belichick takes the job, he's going to do what he wants to do.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure.
That's my point.
No, but then Belichick, great coach. I'm not. Yeah, I don't. I still think Lombardi's the greatest, but he's in the conversation for greatest.
Only guys like you and I, old guys like you and I.
No, yeah. But the Patriots are kind of a mess now because of some bad drafts and personnel.
Mac Jones.
When it comes to personnel, there's a lot of guys I'd rather have making my choices than Bill Belichick. Now, Bill could coach. Give me a good GM and let Bill coach those players. I got a good combination. Bill did not make great decisions as a personnel guy, so I don't know if I would hand the keys to the. I'd let him do what he wants coaching. I would never. Bill, here's your guys. You tell me what you want, and I'll go get it. You want a linebacker? I'll go get you a linebacker. You need a big wide receiver? I'll get you the big wide. Because the players he picked after Brady, their drafts weren't very good.
Well, and Brady was a sixth rounder. It's not like
I'm saying that was the greatest pick.
A little lucky with that one.
That was the greatest pick any team's ever made. But after that, I mean, they made some clunkers.
One more note on the weather, and you would think, looking at the forecast, well, why didn't you bring the team down there early and get acclimated to the heat? They couldn't. They couldn't because of the storm, right? So their hands were tied there. That came to mind as I was watching the game when I saw the players laboring in that weather.
All they needed was pickle juice.
Well, listen,
I think they had your pickle juice in the martini. That was the problem.
I'm sure they had it after the game on the way home.
Yeah,
let's go around. Let's go around some notes here before we finish up. What'd you think of Tom Brady? I mean, did you get any of his commentary?
I told you this. I think I told you this. I told somebody this. I'm so trained from being at games. People ask me, how do you like this announcer? I'm just so used to watching, so I don't listen.
Yeah.
And I was also in a bar, so you don't hear it that well anyway. But I'm sure he'll be fine. He knows the game too well not to be. He's well spoken.
Well, there's 300+ million reasons for him to be fine, right? Well, what a contract that is. Washington, the Commanders. Impressive. Jalen Daniels, another stellar performance. I mean, when you look at a team like Carolina, who struggled with Bryce Young, and now here's a quarterback that just steps up, and a lot of people thought that the Commanders were going to be the worst team in the division by far, them along with the Giants. So it's pretty impressive, that team 3-1 right now.
Read when JerseyMan magazine comes out. Read my
preview.
One of the teams I thought they were a year away, but this Washington team this year reminds me a lot of Houston from last year. Second pick of the draft quarterback that can come in and help.
Yeah,
Raul Daniels fired their old coach, brought in a defensive minded former coordinator with a good track record. D'Amico Ryans in Houston, Dan Quinn. I like Dan Quinn. I think Dan Quinn's a very good coach. He blew that Super Bowl. Everybody, that's what people remember. But he took Atlanta to a Super Bowl. I don't remember Atlanta going to a whole lot of Super Bowls.
Right.
At least he got him there. Was a very good defense coordinator in Seattle for a long time. So a defensive minded head coach with a good young quarterback. So I think they still need a couple more pieces, but they're gonna be in the mix. And I hate to say, I mean, I watched Dallas and the Giants Thursday night. I'm not impressed with one of those teams.
No,
the Giants flat out stinking. Dallas isn't as good as Dallas. There's something missing.
So you would think that from at least from the first 4 games, you would think it would be the Eagles in Washington that will be.
Yeah, Eagles are still. And let's look real quick before we wrap it up. They have a bye this week, which is probably
it's coming at we thought it was early. It's coming at the perfect time. This team is riddled with injuries, and they need a little relaxation in the tub for a week before they get back out.
And the coaches need to get, like you said, they need to come up with something. It gives them 2 weeks to do that. You're right. And then Lane Johnson, Devontae, AJ Brown should hopefully all be back after gives them all another week to get ready. If Slay's hurt or Carter, they should be ready. But look at the schedule. after the bye. It's not that tough. The next 4 games are very winnable. Cleveland, I think it's Cleveland,
The Giants, Cincinnati, and Jacksonville.
Cincinnati's better than one in their record.
They are. They are.
But they're still not as good as people thought.
Jacksonville, no wins. Is Doug on the hot seat? Is he the first to go?
He's got to be.
Wow.
I hope he's still there when they play the Eagles. But I think Doug deserves at least a year. But
yeah.
But he better start winning. Trevor Lawrence has not been what they thought he was going to be. So that team's in Cleveland. That's 4 games. Eagles will be. I think they'll be favored in all 4 of those. Yeah, they will be. They'll be favored in all 4 of those games. They could easily get to 6-2.
You study and write about the Packers, so you study the NFC Central pretty closely. Vikings 4-0. Surprised? Are they the real deal?
Yeah.
What do you think of Sam Darnold coming in there fresh?
That's amazing. That's to me that's the early story of the league. That Sam Darnold, who looked all the part of a classic bust, right? 3rd pick of the draft by the Jets was
bounced around. What, 3 or 4? This is a 3rd or 4th team, I believe.
4th team.
Yeah.
The Jets traded him to Carolina. They
San Francisco.
In Carolina, he was awful.
Yep.
He didn't play for San Francisco. San Francisco brought him in. A lot of people think being around Shanahan and that offense for a year, even though he didn't play, maybe some mop up, but that kind of helped him a little bit. And now he's with Kevin O'Connell, who's, he looks like the
coach of the year consideration so far
right now. Yeah. Quarter of the way through, Sam Darnold looks like the guy that everybody thought he was going to be when he was the 3rd pick of the draft. Now will it last? It's a long season. It's a long, but yeah, that to me, they're the early seasons. That's the early season story of Sam Darnold and the Vikings. Now he has weapons. Now he's got Justin Jefferson and
you mean the Justin Jefferson that the Eagles could have had, and instead they wanted Jalen Reagor? That Justin Jefferson.
A lot of teams could have had him, but yeah, the Eagles took a wide receiver instead. But yeah, Jefferson, Addison, Aaron Jones, and running back. So he has some. It's not like he's doing it all alone, but no, Sam Darnold has been, to me, amazing. I laughed when the Vikings signed Sam. I said, "What are they signing Sam Darnold? What are they?"
But you know what? When you're a high draft pick as a quarterback and you've got starter experience, teams love that. And actually, I do too. I like the fact that you're not going to send a fresh kid in there that you don't know can play or not. You're sending in a first-round draft choice that may have stumbled along the line in his career, but he's got the pedigree to do it. And to me, that would be comforting as an offensive coordinator and a head coach to put somebody like that.
That's why Carson Wentz keeps getting jobs.
Yeah, that's taking it to the extreme. But
Wentz had Wentz at least played well for a little bit. Darnold had never played well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So Mark, you and I are going to take a week off, and we will skip the podcast for the bye week, and we'll be back the following week. Hopefully you and I will be as fresh as we hope the Eagles are coming back off the bye. And I think our strategy is pretty good. I don't think we have to work as hard on our podcast strategy
we're doing well,
as the Eagles have to work on their strategy.
We haven't missed any tackles.
No, not at all, and never will. But always fun talking the Eagles with you. Hope everybody enjoyed the podcast this week. For Mark Eckel, I'm Ken Dunek. Thanks for watching the Bird Brains with Ken and Mark, everybody, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Take care.